Hi folks, this video is about how to make this adorable mug cozy. This project was inspired by Barb Dellinger. Keep watching! So before we get started sewing, I wanted to show you the Design Space project. You'll see that you have two pieces of fabric for the front and back of your cozy. I also put in the cut for the batting or interfacing, whatever you're going to use. I prefer to cut that part by hand so that I don't make a mess on my mats with the fibers. I've also left two iron-on cutouts in the file. Those are optional. You can use them, change them for something you prefer, or don't use any at all. It's completely up to you. So as you can see in this next image, I hid all the extras in the layers panel, and I just went ahead and cut out my front and back fabric. So let's get started. So I have my front and back pieces cut out with my maker, as I mentioned. And also, as I mentioned, I'm going to cut my batting by hand. I don't like to put anything fibrous like this on my mats. You can, it's not a problem, but I find that it makes a bit of a mess, so I prefer not to do it. So I've just cut a strip by hand and with my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to cut around. If you're good with your rotary cutter, you can cut entirely around with your rotary cutter. Or if you're using fusible interfacing, you would put it on your fabric before you cut out your shapes. And it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned because you're going to be trimming your seam allowance anyways after we sew. So that's good as is. Okay. So we're going to need a loop for attaching to our button. So I'm going to cut about this length. I'll check it and show you what it is. I prefer to have more to trim off after than to make it too short. So I'm just going to cut around here. I think it's about 3 inches, but we'll check. Oh, it's longer than that. It's actually 5 inches. What was I thinking? So we're just going to make a loop out of it. I'm going to put the loop towards the inside with the edges sticking out. I'm going to make my loop about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches in, let's see, 1.5 inches. Center it up. And I'm going to try to pin that in place, I think, just while I'm getting ready to sew. Let's see if I can pin it, just so it doesn't run away from me while I'm getting ready to sew. There we go. And I'll pull it more together before I sew. We're going to take our second piece of fabric and put it good side down on top. I'm going to make a mark on one end. I'm going to sew about 1/4 inch all the way around. I should say I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm going to stop here. I'm leaving about 4 inches so I have a space to turn it right side out after I've sewn. So I'm going to get that seam done and I'll be back to show you the next step. Okay, so I've sewn around. I'm not very good at sewing curves or circles. I need to do a lot more practice on that, so you can actually see that I haven't done it evenly at both ends. But you know what, it's fine. I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. I do know that whenever you're sewing a circle, you want to cut into it before you turn it right side out so that you get a better edge when you turn it right side out. Or another way you can do it is with pinking shears. So I'm just going to trim off with my pinking shears, close to my sewing, but of course not cut into it. I'm going to stop at this edge where I've left it open because I don't want to trim away my seam allowance there. I'm just going to trim around. I'm also going to cut off that extra elastic that we don't need. And we'll go all the way down. There we go. We'll throw that away. And something else I found that makes it easier to turn in your edge is if you just trim away a little tiny bit of that batting where the opening is. Just a bit of it. Makes it easier to turn in the edge after. There, so take that away. And now we're going to turn it right side out. Oh, I should mention too, at both edges, I've back stitched a few stitches so that I don't pull my seam apart when I turn it right side out. You also might want to sew over your elastic a couple of times so that you don't have it pull out when you're attaching and removing the button or removing it from the mug. Okay, we'll push that out. There's our elastic. I always take the end of a paintbrush to turn my seams. I'm just going to drag it along to get my seams nicely pushed out. Okay. And we're almost done already. This is really a super easy project, and I think they're going to make adorable little gifts. So we're just going to tuck in that edge. I'm just going to finger press it, but I am going to take it to my pressing station. I'm going to press this super flat, and then I'm going to do a top stitch all the way around, and I'll be right back. And my top stitching is done, and I've pressed it. My elastic is in place. So all I need to do now is measure for where I want to put my button. So I'm just going to pull this around. Put it where I'd like to have it. And I'm just going to put a pin in so I know where I want my button. We'll take off the elastic. And there we go. I know I want to place my button here where the head of the pin is. And that's all there is to it. Besides that, you might want to decorate it with some pretty iron-on, make it very cute. I think they're really terrific. And a big shout out to BARB Dellinger for this idea. They're really great. So I'm going to add my button by hand. I'm going to get this all set up, and I'll be back to show you how the finished one turned out. And I'm done. I should have mentioned right at the beginning that the first one that I made, I picked my mug. I cut one piece of the outside in cardstock, and I just used it to size on the mug to make sure that it was the correct size, or if I had to make it smaller or bigger, depending on whatever mug that you're using. So I've added CRICUT iron on to this one. It says, "Baby, it's cold outside." I never found any decorative buttons, sadly. I do see there's a couple not so nice, but okay, on Amazon Canada. I'll order them because I think I'm going to make some of these for gifts. I love them. Barb, this was a great idea. Really terrific. So I've made a little treat pouch. I put some hot chocolate in it, a candy cane, and some mini marshmallows. And I thought after it would have been a good idea also to add a couple of Toll House cookies or something yummy like that to the pouch. Would have been great. Just sit it in with some fun ribbon. And we'll add our COZIE. Make sure I'm not putting it on upside down. There we go. Twist it around. And what a cute little gift. It's so handy. I'm sure anyone would love to receive this. I think it's adorable. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you make any of these, please post pictures. We'd love to see how they turn out. Thank you for watching.